Wednesday, April the 17th. I didn't do a fishing report last week. I was up at Lake of the Ozarks, but a lot has changed since my last fishing report. The water temperature, the lake level is about 914 1/4. It's come up about 1.5 feet since my last report. But the water temperature, probably, I put in up by Campbell Point this morning, 61, 62 degrees first thing in the morning. And it was about the same yesterday when I put in at Kimberling, and it got up to 65, 68 degrees. And there are fish all over the banks. We've got a full moon coming in a couple days, so and it looks like it's going to be really warm the next few days. They're just going to keep on coming. But a lot of banks, you can just cruise down the bank, and you can see a lot of fish just roaming, looking for a place to start bedding, catching them multiple different ways. I have had some tough days as well. But, today, we caught a lot of fish, and I think that should continue as more and more fish move up. Like I said, there's a lot of different ways to catch them. There's been a little bit of a topwater bite happening. And what I've been using is a walking bait or like a popping bait, like a Yellow Magic, Pop R, Strike King, Splash It, something like that. Whopper Plopper and stuff like that, and buzzbait hadn't been working for me. Seems like I got to have a slower moving topwater bait. But this time of year, you want to keep one handy at all times because they're apt to come up surfacing any place at any time. Now there's still, if you're live scoping, there's still a lot of fish out in the middle of nowhere because the bait's still out there. So I think as long as the bait's out there, the fish are going to be there with them. But a lot of the places I've been trying to key on the spawning areas and just outside of them. But how we've been catching them in there. I mean, yesterday we caught some on a crankbait. Still pretty decent rock crawler bite going if you got the right conditions. Yesterday we had some wind and some clouds. But what was kind of funny yesterday is one of the guys I had with me, his favorite bait to throw was a little Swimbait. And, he asked me if he could throw it. And I said, sure, you can throw it. But, you're apt to get it stuck because we were kind of parallel on the bank. But he taught me something pretty good there yesterday. He caught more fish than myself and the other guy, just throwing a 2.8 and a 3.3 Swimbait. And he's throwing it right up on the bank. But what he was doing is starting his retrieve right away. And as the bait got away from the bank a little bit, he would drop it down. And like I say, he caught, a couple 3-pound largemouth on it and several decent fish. Hold on a second here, my phone's ringing. But anyways, normally, I'll throw this out there for suspended fish and, fish out off the bank a ways. But he kind of showed me something a little bit different. Normally I don't throw it right up on the bank. So what I did is I rigged him up a 3/16 ounce head where it, would stay just up off of the bottom. And he caught a lot of fish on it. And like I say, he caught more on this than we did the rock crawler. But we also caught some on the rock crawler as well. Another bait I've been throwing up in these spawning pockets has been a Ned rig, and I've been using several different baits. I've been using a 5-fish ultimate Ned head jig. That was my favorite one. But I've been throwing, I don't even know how to say it, but it's Yamamoto makes it. It's a Yama Tanuki, but it's the stupidest looking thing, but it'll catch fish. And I've been throwing this on a Ned head, as well as like a Zero or any kind of Cinco cut in half. Another bait we've been using up in there, I just got some of these missile baits. It's a micro Iconelli, it's a Mike Iconelli micro football jig. And it's just, got a real thin skirt on it. This one here's got a PBJ skirt, and I've got just a PBJ Zero worm on there. It's been working good as well. I think on that Ned rig, there's a lot of different colors that work good. I'll try to stay in the greens and browns. Sometimes I'll throw that one with orange because the crawdads do have a lot of orange in them right now. Now, one thing I wanted to mention too, I throw braid on just about all my spinning rods. And I just got some new Sun. It's a sinking. It's called All Might, but it's a sinking braid. You know, a lot of times when the wind's blowing, if you fish braid a lot, it can be kind of a pain because most of the braid floats, the wind grabs, it's hard to get the bait down, it's hard to stay in contact with your bait. But I was only able to get one box because the place I got it from, that's all they had left. But it's unreal how much difference it makes, you know, as far as the line sinking, staying in contact with your bait, especially working a fluke. A lot of them same areas we're throwing a Ned rig. You know, usually one of us has been throwing a fluke. On the fluke banks, it seems like the ledgier banks, the steeper ones, have been working better than the flatter gravel ones for me on the fluke. Seems like it's got to have that big chunk ledge rock in it where I can set the boat about 15, 20 feet and, you know, make a short cast to the bank. So, you know, like I say, about a 45-degree angle bank. It's where the fluke has been working a little bit better. And in behind the docks, that's why I like to throw it on a spinning rod, because you can skip it underneath the cables, underneath the walkways. Another thing you might do too, if you got a little wind and you have trouble with your bait sinking your fluke, instead of putting a weight in the fluke, just put a big swivel like what you'd use for a Carolina rig up about 16 inches from the bait, tie it into the line. That'll help the bait sink, and it also helps keep the twist out of the line. Now there's also been a Carolina rig bite, which I haven't found the Carolina rig bite, but I've been getting some bites on a wobblehead. And it seems like if you're setting in 20 to 25 feet of water, just depends on how steep the bank is. On a lot of main lake and secondary points, there's still a lot of fish out there staging, and they, you know, I've been getting bit on the bottom. Either a tube with a 1/4 ounce head, a small football jig, and you know, another thing, the peewee football jig will work the same place I'm throwing this Ike's micro football jig. You know, they both work in the same place. But what I've been using on this wobblehead, it's a missiles bait. I just got them. It's called a craw feather, and it looks a lot like a Zoom speed craw. But I've also been using this quite a bit on my trailers for my jigs. I'll just pinch a little bit off. It's a really versatile bait. You know, you can use it on this rig here. You can Texas rig it or use it for a jig trailer. But it seems like those fish have been about 15, 20 feet, and there's still moss in a lot of the areas on the lake. But if you're out there Carolina rigging or throwing a wobblehead, usually you get out deep enough to stay out at the edge of the moss. Now, some areas of the lake have got the moss a little worse than others. Most of the lake is pretty clear water. If you get up around Ants Creek in the mid-James, it seems like it's got kind of a brown, funky color. I believe that's, you know, the lake is turning over up there. So if you don't like to visually fish for fish, that'd be a good place to go up and fish shallow, because the fish that are up there spawning, you know, they won't be as spooky as the fish in the clear water. So you're more apt to catch them, you know, on the Ned rig and the fluke. Now today, when it slicked off, it got really tough first, but then later in the afternoon, the winds, just a little bit of chop picked up. They started biting the Swimbait, the Ned rig, you know, pretty good. There's a lot of different baits that they'll bite right now. Only thing I can say on the Ned rig, you just got to fish it real slow. On the Swimbait, we're just keeping it just right off the bottom, like like I said, 2.8 or 3.3 seems to be working. Topwater occasionally, especially in the morning, you want to be throwing a topwater some. I haven't seen too much bass fry yet, so I think the fish, I know there's been beds around for a while, but I haven't seen too much fry. Like I said, I think a lot of them are just now coming in and doing it, because when I mentioned earlier, a lot of fish cruising up and down the bank looking for a place to do it. My wife's laughing at the do it part, but the boys are chasing the girls up there shallow. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.